Well, thank you so much for having me today. I am so thrilled to share this framework with you today because what I'm about to walk you through has completely transformed how I create content and how I build my business brand. So, my name is Tara McEwen. I'm the founder of McEwen Media. I'm also an award winning television producer. I helped launch the Marilyn Dennis show and then worked on that program for 11 seasons. I've also worked on CTV News Channel, CBC News Network. So basically, I know how to create content that speaks to a mass national television audience. I'm really, really good at it. And when I founded McEwen Media in 2021, I realized that there was a lot that I could transfer from the world of television into how businesses are operating today because we are on screens so much. We're on Zoom, we're doing webinars, we're doing social media, and many of us are making television appearances. So, mastering communicating with an audience in that platform, the more you can do it, the better you are. So I have launched multiple programs that deal with different areas of mastering and becoming better media presenters. I have on-camera confidence, produce like a producer, and launch it loud. The framework that I'm going to be focusing on right now is produce like a producer. This is the one-on-one 6-week program that I have where I work with thought leaders, solopreneurs, business owners on how to treat your social media content like a daily television show. That's one thing that I realized in the last year is that if you want to have a daily presence on social media, you're actually creating a daily television show, which is a lot of work. It requires a great deal of creativity and organizing and planning. And if you don't have that framework in place, then social media is always going to be a challenge for you. This actually was the case for me in the beginning. I found it incredibly ironic that as a professional communicator, someone who's built an entire career on building a vision, on being a visual storyteller, that I still struggled with creating social media for my business. I couldn't put two and two together. I knew how to create content for friends and family, right? I knew how to take pictures of my meals. I knew how to share vacation photos. I knew how to do all of those things. But creating content that was meant to promote my business, sell my services, establish a brand, that I didn't understand. So in the beginning, I actually worked with a social media advisor, a strategist, who helped me put together my social media strategy. The brilliant part about that was it at least got me creating something. Right, it got me on platforms. It got me thinking about creating content for the business. And I also worked with a social media coordinator who helped me with the business planning. But even then, or with the execution, but even with that setup in mind, I still struggled with creating content because I'm also running my business full time. Like I'm not interested in being a full-time content creator. So content for social media had to be efficient and effective, and it couldn't use up a lot of my resources. So I think that's why for a lot of businesses, following trends is so attractive. And in fact, when I worked with my strategist, she would often recommend that I follow trends. Following a trend, it's easy to come up with those ideas, right? The trends are everywhere. You can just search for the trend. You look at your feed, you see what you're seeing a lot of. That's now a trend. It's also in many cases easy to figure out the execution. I'm not spending a whole lot of time figuring out how to do this. I'm just watching this trending video again and again and again until I figure out what my stance is going to be. And in many cases, you're getting fast social media results, right? The trend is already trending. It already has an audience. So you can do a trending video and it will take you to people who are following that trend. So it's taking you to a larger audience. It's taking to a lot of people who are interested in the trend. It's broadening your reach. And if that is the only metric you're following, then this checks a lot of boxes. So I think with this logic of easy to find ideas, easy to figure out the execution, and quick results in the form of views, this is why so many people did this trend.
Well, good morning. I'm number 12. The start of the day. Start of my day.
I just wanted to roll over here and tell you that today is not the day to give up on your goals.
Porque son vehículos seminuevos. En Nissan del Bravo tenemos vehículos seminuevos con enganche desde 20,000 pesos.
Yo, check it. I just rolled up to tell you, keep your heart open, be sincere, keep the faith. Yo, Mark 11 and 24 reminds us that Ever felt like rolling into your perfect home?
Pero aquí mismo nosotros tenemos países distintivos para los niños. Recuerda que tenemos 60% de descuento en
Hey guys, we have fewer than 20 spaces left in our private suites, also free. Just calling in to remind you that bacteria in your skin can cause problems like blemishes and breakouts. Parallel Health, we offer skin microbiome testing to identify those bacteria and personalized phage scans to get rid of them.
So the stretcher trend, I mean, this thing was everywhere for spring and summer. So yeah, easy to find this trend. Easy to figure out the execution, right? It's a simple edit, and you as the creator, all you have to do is roll on the floor and deliver some kind of pun about how you're rolling in to tell your audience something. And I'm sure that the people who followed this trend got results. You know, this person rolling off of a stretcher, this appeared in my feed many, many times. So I'm sure that they got views. I'm sure maybe they even got likes and engagement. But unless you're an influencer, you're not getting paid with views and likes and engagement. And if your business is like mine, I'm not building an audience to leverage with brands. My business is built by sales and closing sales. So the content, the information, that so to create content that leads to sales, that leads to closed business, is you're looking at the relationship. Your content actually, instead of getting likes, engagements, and views, your content needs to build trust. It needs to establish credibility and create a lasting impression. So let's look at the videos that we just watched. Let's consider those videos and see, did they pass this test? Are they delivering on the 3 key principles of building trust, establishing credibility, and creating a lasting impression? Right? Let's talk about trust. If any of those businesses had a click to buy button in their profile, or even in the video itself, are you giving them your credit card information right away? No, you're going to check out what they really are. You're going to look for their website. You're going to read their reviews. You're going to run them through the Better Business Bureau to make sure that they're legitimate. Which brings me to my second point, building credibility. You know, the compilation begins and ends with 2 medical practitioners. But you can buy scrubs as a Halloween costume. There's nothing else in those videos to indicate that one is actually a dentist and the other is a dermatologist. Like, there's nothing in those videos to establish that they are actual, credible, licensed professionals to be inside your mouth and on your face. Like, there's nothing supporting that from these videos. And lastly, the lasting impression. This is the most important part in understanding an audience psychology. It's something that television has perfected and social media needs to catch up. A brand is not established with a single post. So those singular posts of following the trend might get you in front of a lot of feeds, but that doesn't mean those eyeballs are going to remember you. The lasting impression comes from repeated interactions. So let's test your memory. There were a number of businesses featured there. What was the 4th business featured? It's hard to think of them as even individual businesses. The repeated interaction is with the image of the person rolling off the stretcher in general. The lasting impression is that of the trend itself. If you're going to follow a trend, know that you are one out of thousands, sometimes even millions, right? The other huge trend, demure mindful. The demure mindful trend gained value and traction. But the individuals who use mindfulness and demure as part of their marketing, easily forgettable because so many people were using that. So if you want to stand out, saying the same thing that a million other profiles are saying is the least way you can do that. The creating a lasting impression when you're following a trend boosts the trend. It does nothing to your business. So instead, you want to put your focus on building trust, credibility, and creating a lasting impression with content that lives on its own. Now, I'm sure you're thinking, but Tara, the original problems of not having time, not having any resources to put this stuff together, none of this is being solved. Well, let me correct this for you. This was a problem that I was facing when I was running my own social media. So I looked back at how my posts had performed. This is just on Instagram alone. If you look at the beginning of this year, from January until around April, that was the time period where I was still following traditional social media advice, right? The advice that is shared over and over and over again of have your content pillars, plan your calendar, use hashtags, post the same time every day. We were following that advice. So I'm working with a strategist at this point. I'm also working with a social media coordinator, spending thousands of dollars a month for her to create content. We were maybe sharing content 4 to 5 times a week. So not a robust, well, compared to what I'm doing now. So a decent showing, but I'm spending a lot of money to get this content created. I'm spending a lot of time coming up with ideas and giving detailed instructions of what I'm expecting to be created and how they should be programmed, and I'm not seeing results. And the frustrating part is there's that voice in the back of my mind saying, Tara, you actually do know how to do this. I had convinced myself that I didn't know social media, but I know television. I know how to create content to engage a daily audience. So in March of this year, I threw out the playbook. I stopped listening to the traditional social media advice. I threw out that strategy completely. I also let go of the person who was creating my content, and I brought it all internal. And I created my show's programming, or my show programming for my social media. I started programming content, acting on ideas as if I was programming a TV show. And you'll see by April, when that content was actually starting to hit, the reaction was instant in terms of reach and interactions, and that momentum continues to grow to this day. Here's the beautiful thing. Because I was re-engaged with my content, and I was doing it all on my own, I was taking action on my own ideas, I also had in mind, how can I be as efficient as possible? So the framework I'm about to share with you today, there are 3 key principles to help you gain this deeper understanding so that you too can create content that is engaging. It's going to broaden your reach. It's information that people are looking for. So the algorithm is going to move it around where you need it to move around without following any single trend. It's going to be interactive. So you're building relationships with the people who are encountering your content, which means you're building relationships you can ultimately sell to. And spoiler alert, the content that I'm creating on my own with the support of a virtual assistant, if I think back to what I was creating in the Q1 of this year, it was maybe 60 to 80 pieces of content a month. I am now active on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn on a daily basis, including weekends. So we're looking at more than 100 pieces of content being created entirely by me. I'm doing all of this content creation in maybe 2 work days. I have a virtual assistant who helps with the scheduling. I pay her $400 a month to do that. So I've increased my output. I've increased the audience reaction and audience connection, and I'm saving myself thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours of time. So are you ready to hear this framework? The secret to this is about understanding audience and maximizing the relationship that you have with your audience, and then making decisions based on what the audience is looking for. So this, the core of this is understanding the difference between a niche audience and a broad audience. For many, many years, and the basis for a lot of social media strategies, it was based on the idea that social media was niche. You have a social media platform, the name of the game is to accumulate a lot of followers. And then whatever content you're putting out there is going to your followers. In theory, they are engaged, they're becoming qualified leads, which means you can sell as much as you want to in this space. This was the case before TikTok. When TikTok came along a couple of years ago, it changed the game for everything, because now the TikTok algorithm and the For You page, so TikTok moves content around based on audience behavior. So if you sit through a video, for me, it's pets, for me, it's dogs and Pedro Pascal. If you sit through a piece of content like that, the algorithm knows that you will watch that all the way through. So it will repeatedly send you similar videos of that same topic, that same treatment, whether you follow those content accounts or not. So now you're operating in a broad space because your information isn't being sent to your niche qualified followers, it's being sent to everyone. And when you're speaking to everyone, that is a different type of communication. Audiences, whether you're on social media or watching television, they're not looking for products and businesses. They're not looking for advertisements. In fact, in the world of television, the opposite happens. People change the channel during commercial breaks. They're looking for information. They have a problem. They're looking for something to solve it. They're looking for entertainment. They're looking for inspiration. They're looking for human connection. They're looking for something pleasant. An advertisement is not pleasant. An advertisement is the last thing. Your sales pitch is the last thing that your client should hear from you. There's a whole other conversation that you need to engage with them before you get there. So going broad has many, many benefits from a content perspective. As a creator, there's a finite list of ideas that you can play with when you're leaning so heavily on sales. Your products and services have a limited number of features and benefits. So if you are committed to creating content on a daily basis that only speaks to this little ball of features and benefits, you're limiting yourself. The creative frustration is in reinventing the wheel again and again and again. How can I put a different slant on the features and benefits of my coaching program? It's as creatively draining as I'm making it sound. But when you shift into editorial, and by editorial, I mean just the body of knowledge that you possess, this is stuff you already have inside of you that informs the business. It's whatever training, whatever education, whatever experience you've had that has led you to this point, that is the well you're drawing from. The beautiful thing is when you're leaning into the editorial space, you're never lost for ideas. You're either mining from past experiences, mining from the present, or looking ahead to the future. You're freed from the limitations of the features and benefits of your products and services. That stuff, leave that on your website. It doesn't have to enter your content, but the content ideas are like, what useful knowledge can I share with the broader public? And every single business on this call watching this video right now, you have specialized knowledge beneath your business. And so few businesses tap into this full well. But once you do, you're never going to be lost for ideas. You're never going to be stuck for what to create because it's always inside you and it is a deeper well than you appreciate and realize. The other beautiful thing is this is content that people are actually looking for. So the algorithm will favor content that people are engaging with. So if you offer information that you know people need, it's going to find your audience. They're going to like it. And because they like it, they're going to come to it again. And they're going to watch it enough times that eventually they become a follower, right? Eventually they like, they share, they become qualified. So not only are you creating from an easier space because you've opened up the possibilities of stories you're going to share, but you're already leaning into what audiences are already looking for. And the third benefit, because you are always sharing from your specialized knowledge, you're always drawing on content that builds trust, establishes your credibility, and creates a lasting impression. You're trading on the things that you know. You're building trust because your information is reliable. And you create a lasting impression because you're giving information that people are actually looking for. So how do you learn and identify your editorial value? Every single business has one. So here's how I guide clients to finding theirs. Your clients all go through a transformation. So what is the transformation that you take your clients through? They all come to you at point A. They want to get to point B. Your product and service is the thing that gets you to point B. Your editorial value is all of the information that they need to take that first step towards point B. Here is where you need a bit of discipline of ideas and creativity. Especially a lot of service providers and coaches. There's a lot of nervousness around sharing their specialized knowledge because they're worried about IP. So here's my stance on IP. Your intellectual property is only worth what you're willing to spend to protect that intellectual property. So if someone steals your framework, steals your terminology, it's only worth what you're willing to spend on a lawyer to do the cease and desist and get them to stop whatever they're doing. At the same time, if someone is stealing your ideas and stealing your intellectual property, they're never going to be able to sell and deliver it the same way as you, because people can smell a rat. They know when they're being sold snake oil. They're not going to connect to it the same way that you do. So it's not going to be as effective as they think it is. Cheaters never win. So think of the transformation that your clients go through. In story selling, you need to understand that there are three key characters in any story. There's the hero, and then there is the adversary and the villain. The adversary and the villain is in the way of the hero completing their quest. And the third character is the guide. So in your marketing, your client is the hero of their own story. They have something that they want to achieve, and there's something blocking their way. You are the guide to help them clear that block and achieve their goal. The classic hero story, probably the most well-known one, is Luke Skywalker in Star Wars. So Luke had a quest. He wanted to defeat the evil empire, his adversary, and restore balance to the universe. He encounters two guides. The first guide is Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan introduces the concept of the Force. He demonstrates what the Force is capable of and lets Luke know that Luke has the Force inside him as well. Spoiler alert, Obi-Wan dies. So Luke encounters a second guide. Guide number 2 is Yoda. Yoda actually takes Luke through the exercises, teaches him how to use the Force, and helps him get stronger and better with this skill. As a great coach, Yoda also holds Luke accountable when he's ready to quit because this is too hard. Yoda is the secret sauce that actually helps Luke overcome his adversary to achieve his goal. Who you are on social media and what you share is Obi-Wan. You're introducing the concept, you're showing what it is capable of, and you're letting your audience know that they have this capability within them as well. This is accessible to them. This is available to them. Yoda is who you are behind the paywall. It's that firsthand, that accountable, we are working on your stuff together. That is who people invest to pay with. So Obi-Wan is who you are in public facing. Yoda is who people pay to work with. So that is you as a storyteller and what you are sharing as your content. The next important principle to understand is the audience agreement. So the audience agreement is a concept I've been teaching people in how to pitch media to get booked on television. I use this with my clients, and I've even been hired by PR companies to teach them how to pitch media better. So the audience agreement is simply what people can expect from your show when they encounter it every single day. I've used a couple of daytime TV shows as examples. A lot of daytime TV, their audience agreement is actually based on what their understanding is of what the audience is dealing with at different times of the day. So breakfast television, it airs from I think 6 a.m. till 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. It's a morning news program based on news you can use. So it's morning headlines, it's weather reports, traffic updates, and then how-to segments, useful information. Breakfast television knows that their audience at that time of day, they're getting ready for work, they're getting ready for school. So it has this spirit of offering information to help you get through the rest of your day, right? How to be informed, whether or not you should take a different route to work, whether or not you need to bring an umbrella. That is the audience agreement that they have with their audience that day. Later on in the morning, you've got the good stuff. So the good stuff is 90% cooking, mostly because, it's a show based on Mary Berg and Mary Berg's interests. When they're not talking about cooking, they're talking about, home decor, organizing, fashion, all that stuff. The assumption or the belief, and this was true when I worked on the Marilyn Dennis show, is that if someone is watching television at 10 o'clock in the morning, they are homebound for whatever reason, right? They're a stay-at-home mom, they're a retiree, maybe they work from home, maybe they're homesick, maybe they're between jobs, but their day is spent making the most out of being at home. So of course, home ec as a TV show, when you're mid-morning and filling out the rest of your day with around the home stuff, a show that honors and feeds that content is a great show to be watching at that point in time. Later on the day, we've got the social, airs at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. By that point, you've had your day, you've done your laundry, you've organized the room, you've pre-made some meals. Now you're looking for some engaging, lively discussion. The social sees itself as a lively lunch hour chat with your best girlfriends. So they talk about, trending news stories, they talk about gossipy shows or gossipy stories, anything that people can have a differing opinion on, because it's a roundtable discussion. So they're meaty subject matter that people have different takes on. So those are examples of the audience agreement. With your social media, you don't necessarily have to think in terms of the time of day and what people are dealing with. What I want you to walk away with, though, is this understanding that when people encounter your content and when people encounter your brand, they know what to expect. Right? You're not going to turn on the good stuff and get hockey scores. You're not going to turn on the social and get, stock market updates. You're going to get the things that they have promised you that you're going to get, and you're going to be satisfied. That is how you build a loyal audience and following. You actually give them the same material, packaged slightly differently. Maybe there's a slightly different angle, but people know what to expect from you. This knowingness is where the emotional and the relationship building comes from. And relationship is key to selling your business and your product. So how do you determine your audience agreement? Well, there are 3 key questions I want you to ask yourself. The first is, who am I? And specifically, who am I in service to the business and the brand? This is actually what I work with a lot of with my clients. We are ourselves 24 hours a day, but not every interest, not every thought, not everything that I engage with makes sense in the greater context of McEwen Media and the audience agreement that I've established. So who am I with McEwen Media is an award-winning producer, media coach, and media trainer. The subject matter that fits, that makes sense with that identity, that is what I share with McEwen Media. Everything else is either shared in a text chat with friends or on my personal social media. Increasingly, it's being kept to the private text chat. The second question is, what do I know? So this is, again, deepening your editorial value and what you are going to offer your audience. This is another area that I work on with clients because, generally speaking, the depth of what we know and what we can offer, we're on autopilot, right? We're ignorant to, I would say, 90% of what we are capable of sharing because we only highlight the top 10%. So in the coaching that I do with clients, we're actually opening up and expanding and exploring the depths to what they know and what they can draw on for editorial content and their expertise. So I'll offer you this exercise for free. This is something that I do in pretty much every workshop that I offer. It's called Track the Timeline. I want you to set a timer for 5 minutes and think about, the general subject matter that you want to express on your social media. It's a subject matter that fuels your business. It's, part of your calling, the message that you want to share. And I want you to track back all the times that idea has shown up for you in your life. So when I do this exercise, it's storytelling. That's what I'm here to share. So the storytelling shows up in how I serve clients in McEwen Media. Before that, it was the 11 seasons I worked on the Marilyn Dennis Show. Before that, when I worked at CTV News Channel. Before that, it was when I studied journalism. Before that, I was in university getting an English diploma. Before that, it was all the English classes that I took. I was an avid reader. I can trace back my storytelling to the age of 5, when in kindergarten, I wrote a story and the teacher commented, "Tara has an excellent command of language. She is a natural storyteller." So when I draw on my expertise, that is the depth that I'm drawing from. I go all the way back 40 plus years to when I was a child and how long I have been a storyteller. The last question is, how can this help others? This is a great filter and discipline because sales is self-serving, right? Sales is your bottom line. You need to make those sales, but that's, again, not what people are looking for. They're not looking to just give you money. They're looking for information. They have a problem. You can solve it, and you can solve it by this product that you are selling. So you actually want to lead with how this information can help other people. This again, similar to switch into editorial, this has double positive benefits. For one, you're always creating content that people are actually looking for. They're looking for information, they're looking for ways to solve their problems. And secondly, it's just so much easier to share from a space of giving and generosity. If you're always looking at what you're going to get, it's got this closed off creative energy, and you're always going to set yourself up for failure. But if you serve and deliver and offer things from the spirit of generosity, knowing that it's this Obi-Wan surface level, this is just the intro stuff, it's just so much easier and fulfilling. You're going to be aligned with the messaging because you're sharing it from this spirit of generosity and helpfulness. If you're sharing from a spirit of selfishness, that also has a finite feel-good factor, especially if your sales don't come in when you expect them to. So now we're going to blend these two together and bring things up a notch with the editorial calendar. The editorial calendar, this is where this is really where I was able to identify content that I could create easily, that was fulfilling, that connected with an audience, and align it with my business goals. Not only that, I was able to find efficiencies, and just that this process is what has created the system where I can create like 100 pieces of content in just a couple of days for a couple $100. Like, come on, let's get into this. First is understanding the editorial calendar. All of this stuff that I'm sharing with you today is giving you direction and purpose and meaning to your creative ideas. A lot of people think that writer's block is a lack of ideas. What it actually is too many ideas trying to come at you and nothing knows where to land. So the more streamlined, the more process you have to your creative process, the easier it is for you to direct ideas and take action on ideas when you need to. It's a way to triage creative projects and ideas that come to you. As entrepreneurs, triaging your own creative ideas is also another brilliant soft skill. So the editorial calendar is a brilliant way to manage and control these ideas that come to you. I first discovered the editorial calendar when I moved from news into lifestyle. So in news, you are reacting to the day's events, right? Things are happening in the world. Reporters are out there gathering information. They're creating their stories. In the newsroom, you're packaging this stuff and ordering it in a way that makes the most sense to your audience. You're reacting to stuff that's happening around you. In lifestyle, we weren't reacting to things that were happening in the world. So it was harder to order things and give things priority and just simply make creative decisions of, well, we have this idea for a chicken recipe. Do we program it on a Monday or a Friday? What is our reasoning for programming it on certain days? The editorial calendar is a brilliant way for us to then say, okay, in this month, we're focusing on the holidays because it's December. December's coming up. This is what people are doing the holidays. January, new year, new you. It was just a great way for us to identify key themes to explore during the year and give us that discipline, that reason, that purpose of this is why this story makes sense in this context. It also elevates and gives a greater focus to your content, because again, this is about giving audiences information that they're looking for. They have problems that they're looking to solve. But here's the interesting thing about the problems we experience them in heightened levels at different times of the year. And it's at those same times of the year. So you can actually predict when people are going to be more stressed out about their time and when they're going to be more stressed out about their finances. I'll use it as an example, time management, right? Throughout the year, we are managing our calendars, we're managing our expectations, we're managing when we're going to show up and doing what we're doing. Time management is different in September. When the kids are back at school, the office is back from vacation, you're looking ahead to Q4 and you know that time is running out in the year. There's a lot happening. You're also looking ahead at the holidays, right? Thanksgiving is coming up. Then there's Halloween. Then there's US Thanksgiving. Then there's the holidays happening in December. So time management, efficiency, productivity is heightened in September, not so much in July. When the kids are out of school, you're on summer vacation, you're not going to worry about anything. Time seems to slow down in July. So if you're messaging on efficiency and doing more with less and being more organized, it is not going to land as deeply in July as it will in September. So use the editorial calendar to help you understand the priorities that your audience is dealing with and tailor your content so that you're always meeting them when they are in a heightened state of a certain problem. So it's a great way to organize your thoughts and ensure that your content is always landing at a point where it's going to be received the most. So here's how you use your editorial calendar to then build your programming. I want you to start thinking in terms of months, exploring an idea for an entire month. This is where the lasting impression comes into play. You're not going to build your business on a post. You build it one post at a time. Sometimes people need to hear the same message a couple of times. If you also explore a theme over an extended period of time, you're demonstrating the depth of your knowledge. So you're establishing your credibility. And because you are constantly solving this problem, that's where you're building trust. So exploring an idea over a month is a great way of building trust, establishing credibility, and creating a lasting impression. Excuse me. So use your editorial calendar to first identify a common problem that is heightened for your audience and following at that time of year. Then think of, well, what is your unique solution to that problem? Your unique solution to the problem is now your theme. So once you've identified your theme, then I want you to think of the product or service that delivers on that theme, that most fits whatever it is that you're going to explore. A lot of businesses have multiple offerings, but you're going to pick one that you're going to incorporate into your editorial messaging. This, again, is a TV trick. So if you think of your average television show, I'll use breakfast television as an example again. The editorial content fills up a segment, right? You start watching the show, it's the top of the hour, the hosts introduce the show, you get a teaser of what to expect, you get the news headlines, you get the weather report, your traffic report, and some kind of how-to lifestyle type interview. That is the editorial content that audiences are gravitating towards and that the show is building its brand and its relationship on. In between that are commercial breaks, right? The commercial breaks are what pay the bills. Universally, audiences will avoid commercial breaks unless, they're busy doing something else, which is often the case in a morning show. But generally speaking, people are avoiding ads. The thumb is the most powerful tool that a consumer audience has because they can change the channel, or if it's on social media, they can scroll right past a post that is too salesy. So television has gotten around this with something called integrated content. This is sometimes called brand partnerships, brand placements, advertorials in newspapers and magazines. This is the combination of editorial and advertising in one piece of content. The bulk of it is still editorial. You do still have to offer the audience what they're looking for, which is a solution to their problem. So you strengthen the editorial. And then you incorporate a product or a service and a call to action of what people can buy to solve that problem. This is how I want you to start selling in your social media. It's not a separate ad, but it's an extension. So you're offering editorial value. You're giving them the Obi-Wan level solution. And if they want more hand-holding, if they want a deeper understanding, if they want to learn more, if they want you to work on this problem with them, this is how they can get the Yoda experience. You're offering your sales pitch as more information. You're not leading them to the sale. You're enhancing what you're offering. You're integrating the sales with the editorial. So that's why with the theme is establishing your editorial, identifying the one product you're going to highlight. That ensures that you are creating content that also grows your business and your brand, unless you're a charity and then you're offering this information for free. Then we're going to start planning the content. The first thing I want you to look at is your library of material. What content can you repurpose? Here's the beautiful thing about how audiences are taking in information. We're taking in a lot of information. So audiences have short attention spans and even shorter memories. You can post something and then 2 months later, post it again. They're not going to remember the first time you posted it, especially if there is a purpose to the repurpose. If that repurposed content solves the problem that they're dealing with at that point in time, they're just going to accept it as brand new content because it solves the problem. That's all they care about, is that it solves a problem. So you're going to save so much time by repeating your content, but I want you to repeat your content with a purpose. The theme gives it the purpose. The editorial value, the editorial calendar gives it the meaning, gives it the purpose. So you've got your theme, you've got your priority promo, you've got the content you're going to repurpose. Next, I want you to start thinking about content you can amortize. So direct your creative energy into creating long format content first. This can be a blog post, this can be a podcast, this can be a live stream, whatever it is. Get all of your ideas related to the theme out in one go, and then piece it down into smaller bite-sized bits of information, right? If your blog post has 3 distinct points, those are 3 distinct articles. If you're doing a podcast, if you're doing a live stream conversation, you're now cutting these things down into 30-second pieces. So amortize your content. Lastly, and only if you have space for it, only if you need to, paper over some cracks, what content do you need to create new? The reason why I order it in this way is the order of priority, and also to make the best use of your creative ideas. Your brain is going to fill whatever space you give it. So if we reverse this order, if we came up with a theme, came up with a priority piece, and then thought of the ideas and content we can create net new, now your brain is filling the entire month with brand new content. But so this whole repurposed and amortizing, you want to fill those spaces first. You want to give that direction and purpose first, so that you're eliminating the need to create something from scratch. So here's how this looks. This is what the McEwen Media November 2024 programming schedule looked like. The theme for this month is story selling. So I'm a B2B business. My content is B2B. I know that businesses are very focused on sales strategies. We've got the busy holiday season coming up. Everyone's trying to make their year in the next couple of months. So selling. My offering, that my unique solution to that, is selling with better stories. So understanding the difference between editorial, advertorial, how to do integrated content, how to tell stories that sell. That's been the theme the entire month. The priority promo is produced like a producer, because out of all the platforms that I have, this one focuses mostly on marketing and social media. It is about being strategic. It is about making sure that your content is selling by telling great stories. So when I looked at what I could repurpose, ironically, what I ended up repurposing has nothing to do with the theme. Well, maybe a little bit. We're heading at the end of November. So once US Thanksgiving comes around, you're full into Christmas programming. Excuse me. So in July, I did a campaign called Christmas in July. It was pushing to a workshop, getting people to start thinking about their holiday storytelling, because whatever holiday campaign you have for the year, if you want it to stand out, you actually need to start planning that out in the month of July. So I did Christmas in July, which had a bunch of how to pitch media tips in there. So I just took those graphics, renamed them Last Minute Christmas Pitching, and now that's what I have for the last week of November, leading into December. In terms of content to amortize, so the first and third Tuesday of every month, I do a live stream conversation, sometimes known as a podcast, with other people who work in media. So other professional storytellers, people who work in marketing, people who work in other areas in social media, people who work in PR, and we talk about various issues. So of the conversations that I've had, there was one in particular where it was strictly about the difference between marketing and sales, and how to know when there's a problem with your marketing and when there's a problem with your sales funnel. So the bulk of this month was amortized content from that, which meant by the time I was looking at what to create net new, I was looking at maybe 2-3 open days. And on November the 25th, I have a masterclass on power pitching. So the only thing I created new for this month was a promo post to encouraging people to sign up for this masterclass. So again, this is how McEwen Media is able to be active daily on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, creating more than 100 pieces of content a month. This streamlined storytelling is how I am able to manage these ideas, ensure that they are always aligned with what I need to sell, and that I'm always giving content that is valuable to the audience. It's a system, it's a structure, it is seamless. It is so easy to manage. Oh, and I'm so glad that I can share this with you today. So if you like what you've heard and you want some more Obi-Wan style advice on how to get better media, follow me at McEwen Media. On Instagram, I'm the most active, so that's the best platform to get the most information from me. McEwenmedia.ca is the website. So that is where you're going to find more information on the 3 coaching programs. It's where you're going to find information on the events that we have coming up. It's where you can book a discovery call. You can sign up for the newsletter. It's super easy to navigate your way on the website. That's McEwenmedia.ca. And if you really, really love what you've heard, if this style of creating feels like it's the thing that you need to have a more authentic voice, to express what needs to be expressed, and to do this with as little time and money as possible, you're looking at Produce Like a Producer. This is the 6-week program that I have where I actually guide you through your personal programming, what your editorial voice is, what your programming is, and we even work through what your editorial calendar can be. And we start mapping through like what the next couple of months can look like. Scan the QR code that will take you directly to Produce Like a Producer with more information on what to expect and when you can sign up. So thank you so much for having me today, and I hope to see more editorial content from all of you in the future.